So I go in for my surgery, and it was very complicated. I had to have a blood transfusion because I lost a lot of blood. And the second day I was in the hospital, because you're in the hospital about 6 days each surgery, my daughter comes in. She was being recruited. She left staff, paid off her debt, and now her boyfriend wants to join the Sea Org, her fiance. And she was recruited. And I knew this was kind of going on, but I knew she wouldn't do it after what she went through. She comes into the hospital on day 2 of after my knee replacement and says, "Mom, I'm going to join the Sea Org, and I'm leaving tomorrow, and I'm going to get married." I'm on morphine.
What would it be? Ice cream?
Yes, ice cream! Please,
Chocolate?
Yes,
It's all inside. Come along, my little piece. Inside, not a baby. Inside, my
I'm in so much pain because I just had a blood transfusion that I've already lost my son. Now my daughter's gonna leave. I mean, it's like you just don't. They shouldn't have never had my daughter come in and do that. They should have waited. She was 18 though. She didn't need my permission. She had to tell me. And while she was telling me, her father was on the text messaging her. My mom saw what was going on. And it was just sick how it was all planned. And so the next day, I had to sleep all night. I was so upset that I went into shock. And luckily my dad was there because he saved my life. I had a lot of trauma and I went into shock. I couldn't breathe and he had to run down the hallway and get the medical response team. And they came in and they saved my life.
Lori, both of your children have signed billion-year contracts to be in the Sea Org, one of whom is a minor. You're now post-surgical and out of the hospital. What changes do you make? What do you do?
Well, I get a call after a month that my daughter wants to rat out of the Sea organization. I was very happy. And she came home, and I remember we went to dinner, and she started opening up to me. But I saw she was worried what she was telling me. She said, "Mom, I wanted to leave after day 3 because they promised me my fiance and I would be at Flag together. They ended up taking him and putting him in Mexico. They separated them when they promised her she could get married and be with him in Florida. Well, they didn't keep their promise, so Jessica saw that. She's tough. And she said, I want to come home. She fought it for a month. They kept her against her will for a month. She was real feisty. She went in and saw that MAA, that they're equivalent to a chaplain, like an ethics officer.
Yes.
And she just said, I want to go home now. And he said no. And they made her wash dishes. And but she knew she wasn't going to do that counseling because she knew she was going to have to pay for it from her previous $10,000 debt. So she refused the counseling. I'm proud of her for that. And she did finally come home after a month, but she went to dinner and told me all this, that they yelled at her, they screamed at her, and what they did with her fiance in Mexico. I knew, I was like, what? And she goes, but I'm not supposed to tell you, Mom. I'm not supposed to tell you, please don't tell anyone. And I thought, oh my God, this is like, so I did, I told my mom, and I was like, this isn't right. I mean, this is the elite clergy yelling at my child because she wants to come home. And Jeremy, I didn't hear from my son. I was promised that I could talk to him often. He was there for 7 months in the Sea organization. And he was 15, he turned 16. I only got to talk to my son 5 times in 7 months. I called all the time. They said he's busy. I didn't get a call back. And I noticed he would only call me after he got out of counseling, a session. And now I know later why. They would only let him call me after because then he was feeling pretty good. So when he left the Sea organization that summer, I found out, and this was the straw that broke the camel's back. This is why I wanted to be a Scientologist. I wanted to walk, I was done. Is my son, my mom, on July 4th, her birthday, she said, you know, Jeremy, what happened in the Sea Org? He goes, I can't talk about it, Nani. He called my mom Nani. I signed a $3 million agreement. I'll have to pay the church $3 million if I tell you what happened. And I can't do my Scientology. My daughter told her dad, Jim Lake, and he said it was Labor Day weekend. We were all at the lake having a family vacation with my children and my parents who are not Scientologists. And Jim told the kids, I heard this through my friend, that he told them that if you don't disconnect from your mother, then I'm going to disconnect from you because no one's going to take my eternity away from me. I mean, this is a father saying this to their children. That's a total threat of losing their dad because I resigned from a church I don't want to be a part of anymore.
Well,
so they're forced, they're like, they're going to lose their dad or they disconnect from their mom. They're going to lose one of us. I mean, you just don't do that.
Well, the church is using an either or.
Right.
But it also shows that your ex-husband believes that the Church of Scientology owns and controls his own eternity.
That's right.
How can a church claim to own your eternity when it belongs to you?
They're very good at that. I mean, as you go up the bridge to the next level, you start seeing that your eternity and being in Scientology is your salvation. And that's more important than your family member. I mean, they're brainwashed to think that.
So your children had to have been shocked that their father threatened disconnection,
right,
in order to keep his eternity.
And they didn't disconnect from me right away. It took until February, so that was August. But my son, he was still, living with me. And Rick Melrose brought him in and just said, Jeremy, you've lived several lifetimes, right? He said, yeah. And he said, this is just your mom this lifetime. On February 6th, 2011, my children disconnected from me. That was my dad's birthday.
Did they do it in writing?
My daughter did in a text.
Your son Jeremy had a serious motorcycle accident. What happened?
It was October. After that, he got in a serious motorcycle accident. And it was, similar to your situation with you and Karen finding out about her son dying on Facebook. I found that out on Facebook that my son was in the ER. I had to call all the hospitals and I find out where he's at. I get my father and my stepmom, we go over to the hospital and I'm not allowed to see my son. I don't even know if he's critical. I mean, here's my son in a serious motorcycle. He did a double, triple, missed it, flew 30 feet up in the air. He could be dead. And I'm like, you won't let me, because he was over 18. And he's told he can't see me. And he's in no condition to say so. His father and my daughter said the mom is not allowed to see Jeremy. There was also rumors that I was crazy, so they probably said, well, she's crazy. Who knows what they told the hospital. But I was not allowed to see my son. So I snuck around the back and I waited for a nurse to come out of the ER doors and I just was crying. And I said, listen, I have resigned from the Church of Scientology because of the disconnection policy. I don't know if my son is okay. And I was just crying. And he said, write a note. And I know where he's at. I'll go give it to him. And I just said, dear Jeremy, your mom is here. Are you okay? I love you. I'm right outside. I want to see you. Luckily, the nurse went in and saw Jeremy. He was alone because my ex and my daughter were talking to the doctor. And Jeremy saw the note. He was coherent enough to see it. And he said, tell my mom I'm okay. And that I'm just not allowed to see anyone. But it was the disconnection policy that kept me from seeing my son. So the next day, I waited right outside of his surgery unit. And when he came to, I followed him. No one was going to stop me. And I followed him in the room and I looked at him in the eyes and I said, I've been here all day. I just want to let you know I love you and I'm glad you're okay. He looked at me like he's not supposed to talk to me. He looked at his father and his father went like this and he said, I love you too, Mom. And it was just like, here's my son totally in pain and hurting and I can't be with him. I had 30 seconds with him, but I didn't want to cause trauma for him, not like what the church did to me. So I'm like, I'm not going to stay and pressure him. He's already got enough pressure with the disconnection. So I said what I needed to say. I saw my daughter. She hugged me like she never wanted to let me go. I know These kids did not want to disconnect from me. So in April they moved to Texas. Jim moved my children many states far from me so that I couldn't see them and give them presents or try to talk to them and be their mom. So now my children have been California children all their life or in Texas. I didn't see them for a whole year. In the meantime, they were ordered to block all family associated with me and all friends. So now even the non-Scientology family members are not able to talk to the kids. We have no phone numbers, no address, and no contact on Facebook.
So the OSA Facebook police are involved at this point?
Right, and they're telling the kids who they can talk to and who they cannot talk to. So they've lost all their family except for my ex's side of the family. And we're a close family. My dad just turned 75, they missed the birthday. My mother just turned 75, they missed that birthday. And this is like the time that family, you know, we're robbed from our kids. David Miscavige has taken our children because of disconnection. So I planned to go see my son in Texas over Mother's Day. And I did it secretly. I found a way to get my flight without the OSA tracking me. I went and saw my son, he was working. And he was totally shocked to see me. Because if he would have known I would be coming, he would have been advised not to be at work. They want to keep me far away from Jeremy. I saw him, he hugged me and told me he loved me. And it's like, that to me was so important. And that he saw I loved him. I said, "You're really tall, son." I mean, he was like so much taller than I last saw him. And he looked really handsome, and he told me, "Mom, you look really good," because they told him I've had a breakdown. And here I am, totally fine. So I watched that lie away, and then we talked for 45 minutes. He didn't ask me to leave. We even picked out some presents or some, you know, at his motorcycle shop, some shirts. We both ride motorcycles. We talked about that. And then my mom left us alone. She was there with me. She went to go see Jeremy because he hasn't, and she hugged him and said, you know, they said they loved each other. And I told him, "I just want to be your mom. It's fine if you do Scientology. I just don't want to do it. I just want to be your mom. I just want to call you and find out how you're doing. Do you have a girlfriend?" And he told me he had a girlfriend, his first girlfriend, or one of his first. And he seemed so excited to share that with me. That's what a mother wants. They want to hear about their children and the first girlfriend and be a part of their life, which I'm robbed from. And I said, he goes, "You know what to do." He goes, "You need to go back into the church and do the steps."
Hi, my name is Beth Alquist, and I've been Lori's friend for 30 years. And I've watched and witnessed Lori go through what Scientology has done to her. This is her family home, and where she had lots of memories with her children. I mean, growing up, they were doing all their holidays here, and she hated being in the house. It was not a happy place. Terrible memories.